Hello everybody, Mr. Olson here, trying to find a moment to relax in the backyard. I want to take a moment to say I really appreciate how many of you are still working and still turning in really good work and putting forth the effort. Um, I'm sure you're aware that your grades at the end of the semester, or you should be aware at this point, that your grades at the end of the semester are going to be credit or no credit. I've got a little more information on that yesterday where I heard back from the district office that I'm basically going to be submitting your grades as they stand. Meaning if you have a C, I'm going to tell the district you got a C, and then the district is going to run that through a system that's basically just going to turn it all into credit or no credit. So if you have an A plus at the end of the semester, or you have a D minus at the end of the semester, your grade on your report card is going to say the same thing. And I assume you guys all are aware of this. If you're not, hopefully that's good news for you. I appreciate that those of you who have been working really hard this semester are doing so because hopefully you recognize that this is a valuable thing, this education that we're giving you and that we're putting time and effort into. Some of you are hopefully enjoying the work that I've been giving you. This week's assignment is the subject of this video. I personally find enjoyable. It's something that I enjoy because I've always liked doing puzzles, and I'm the kind of guy that likes math, and I like working to rules and following rules and being creative. It's an opportunity to be creative as well. However, I'm not going to necessarily require everybody to work to the same level, meaning that the assignment's got to be worth 20 points, but I'm going to allow you to get up to 40 points. 20 points is going to be basically for a very straightforward basic drawing where you show me a reasonable level of effort, but the work needs to be accurate and correct, meaning that the perspective lines need to be going where they're supposed to be going. The vertical lines need to be vertical, the vanishing lines need to be vanishing. We're going to be working in 2-point perspective this week, which means that everything is either going to be vertical, and I do mean just really straight up and down vertical, or heading exactly to a vanishing point, or have a very specific reason why it is going the direction that it is. And then you will see in the videos, I made a bunch of videos this morning, and right now I'm going to go sit at the computer. I'm going to put them all together into one big long video. And a lot of the videos do show you techniques that involve drawing other lines on your paper. As long as every line you're drawing has rules that apply to those lines. On a side note, if you enjoy this work, if this is kind of interesting and this is kind of fun, then it really suggests to me that you are the type of person who would do well in this field of engineering. And potentially, if you really enjoy this project, you might also enjoy a more creative aspect of that field and working as like a digital artist or as an artist in general, an oil painter for that matter. I'm going to show you a bunch of different techniques of working in perspective, and then your assignment for this week is to turn in a drawing by the end of the week. Or actually not by the end of the week, I'm sorry, by next Friday. So you're going to have a full week to work on this assignment. You can put as much into it as you want to, and you can get really creative, and I will reward you with more points, and we can move forward. I hope you guys are all staying safe and looking forward to nicer weather where you can hopefully get out and walk around your neighborhood or go to the park or find opportunities to safely get a breath of fresh air. On a side note, in the videos that you're about to watch, I may seem a little tired, a little down. It's been a long week and I've had a lot going on, so I was just watching those videos and found myself to be a little sad looking. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the videos. I hope you enjoy this assignment. It should be a nice, entertaining, or at least an interesting project for you to work on this week. The video that you're watching right now is about perspective drawing. You all did the perspective drawing work last week, and today I'm going to be showing you a bunch of different techniques on how to draw things in 2-point perspective. And then you can choose this week to do the perspective drawing, and that's for all art students and for all TEA students. You're all welcome to do this assignment. There will be another assignment posted as well, And you may also choose to do that assignment instead, or both if you want to. Depends on how bored you're getting these days. You're welcome to do both assignments. You're welcome to do just one assignment. Technically speaking, for the class, you're required to do at least one of the two assignments. Okay? Those of you who are my art students, presumably you'll be doing this assignment because you don't know your way around SketchUp. All right, so first of all, let's review two-point perspective that we did last week. Okay, so I'm going to start by drawing a horizon line. Now, horizon, the word horizontal comes from horizon. So this line needs to be very horizontal. Issues that you had last week, a lot of you were horizontal lines that were not really quite horizontal. They were here, 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 they were all in place. I'm going to draw two vanishing points, one there and one there. And when you do your paper, you're going to be using the same vanishing points the entire time. Every line on your work, with only a few exceptions, are going to be either vertical, horizontal. Actually, they're going to be vertical or horizon or vanishing. Every line on your paper is either going to be vertical or vanishing, except for your horizon line. I know I'm getting confusing. Okay, so I'm going to review the boxes that we did last week just so you can kind of have this general idea, because it's easiest to understand the perspective when looking at simple boxes. I'm going to start with one vertical line. This is vertical. Once again, most issues with your work were where your vertical lines were not really vertical. They were over here, and they were all over the place, but they weren't vertical. These should be 90-degree angles. It's vertical and horizontal. That's where most of you made your mistakes. And then, with this particular box being on the horizon line, I have a vanishing line over to here, and a vanishing line over to here. And I think a lot of you didn't line up from here all the way to here. You would do things like, oh, this one goes over there, that one goes over there, and you didn't really line these things up well. That's what most of you will do wrong when you do this work. You will draw lines that are kind of going in the right direction, like Jado did in that video that you watched, but you won't be accurately drawing to the vanishing points. Here, it's accuracy. Most of you guys were not accurate. You weren't trying really hard to be very accurate. Okay? And thus, when you put in this line like this, this is not vertical. Okay, it is clearly leaning this direction. If you look back at your papers, those of you who did not get stellar grades, you'll see that your lines were not accurate. This line needs to be very vertical. Very vertical. Okay? And thus you get a box drawn in two-point perspective. Now this is drawn as if you're looking straight at it. Because your eye level is right here, so you can't see the top or the bottom of the box. I'll do one more down here before we move on to other shapes. Once again, we're going to do the same thing we just did. Every step we did there, we're going to do here. One vertical line. 4 vanishing lines. 1 and 2. 3. 4. And then 2 vertical lines. And in my head, I should be thinking these must be very, very vertical. And another vertical line. And this is an incomplete box, it's missing the top. This is where some of you drew lines like this, which are wrong because this is not vertical, horizontal, or vanishing. Every line you draw must be drawn specifically. This is where we get into why this is important for you to be learning. I teach my classes as if for multiple purposes, but if you're intending to be any sort of engineer or in any sort of field similar to engineering, you need to start learning to be precise with your actions and what you're doing. Okay? Everything you do needs to be done carefully and correctly and accurately. It's like doing a big long math problem. You rush some little point about it, you do something in your head perhaps, then you end up, the whole thing ends up wrong at the end. After you did all this work, the whole thing's wrong, all because of a silly little mistake along the way. You need to learn to be accurate. Okay, so this line heads to there, that line heads to there, and what we end up with is 3 vertical lines, 3 vanishing lines over to here, 3 vanishing lines over to here. Okay, so in the years that I took art classes and in the years past when I did the perspective drawing, I often had students like to do their drawings on checkerboard tables. They would draw cityscapes and such on a checkerboard table. So the first thing I'm going to show you at this point is how to draw a checkerboard table. You're not required to use a checkerboard to build upon, but I think you might enjoy them. So I'm going to go ahead and in the end, you're going to have a lot of leeway in terms of what you're drawing. Some people are going to do very simple drawings, and some people are going to do more complex things because they enjoy it and they're kind of having fun with it. We'll discuss the requirements of this assignment later on. Right now, I'm just going to show you how to do a bunch of different stuff. I'm going to draw a really high vanishing horizon line at this point because it'll be easier for what I'm trying to draw here. And I'm going to draw a checkerboard in perspective. All right, so for this, I'm going to start by drawing kind of the whole, you might also think of this as a dance floor with a checkerboard pattern on it. I'm going to start out by choosing a point down here, low, and I'm going to draw what you might consider the top of the box. I'm going to go up this way. Now this is probably one of the most confusing things to draw. And you may have difficulty with it, but if you follow the rules, if you follow it systematically, it'll work just fine. But you don't have to have a checkerboard. Okay, I'm going to choose this spot over here and this spot over here. And I'm going to draw this over here. I made these horizontal to each other, these 2 spots. And I'm going to draw here. And I'm going to draw here. Okay, so there is my I'm going to go ahead and give this thickness so that you can kind of get an idea of what it is I've drawn here. I always imagine these almost like a fantasy building or a fantasy city that you're drawing, and that this is kind of floating in midair, but if that's confusing, don't worry about it, it'll make sense later on. And then there would be a vertical line right here. And a vertical line over here. And now we have like a big, kind of imagine building a city on top of that. Okay? It's kind of a big board sitting out there in the world. Okay. Now, if this were a checkerboard in perspective, this square right here would be huge compared to that square back there. Because this is much closer, and they get smaller and smaller and smaller as they work their way back here. In order to do that, there's a very specific thing format you have to follow, and you have to follow it completely accurately, otherwise you make mistakes along the way. Step 1, you're going to draw a line from the back corner to the front corner, from here to here. This is one of those lines, although I'm going to be erasing that line later on. That line is just it's just a line that I need to use for purposes of being accurate here. Okay? Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go from this corner to this corner And I'm only going to mark that kind of center spot right there. So now that I have this spot, which is the spot that is created by connecting those two spots, I'm going to draw vanishing lines connecting from that dot over there on the right to this dot right here, and I'm going to draw a line all the way across there. I'll do the same thing on the other side. From that vanishing point to the center, I'm going to draw all the way across. And just like that, I have divided my dance floor or my building floor into 4 even. These are all the same shapes. These are all squares of the same size. They don't look like it to you, but they are. Okay? Now, I'm going to now divide. I have 4. I'm going to divide each of these into 4. So I'm going to divide the whole thing into 16 pieces by doing this. I locate that spot directly between those two spots, and the same here. And then I draw all those vanishing lines. Now, if you're watching this YouTube video and you're already drawing this, and this is the first time you've watched this video, please stop. Okay? Because in the end, you're going to receive some instruction at the end of this video, and you may not even choose to do this part of the assignment. This is not a requirement. There will be a requirement in the end, but you are not going to be required to draw a checkerboard, because this is a more difficult concept. Okay? So now it's 16. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 4 is 16. And once again, all of these spaces are all exactly the same size. They don't look like it, but that's because of perspective. This is what it would, if you took a photograph of a checkerboard, this is what it would look like. The one in the front would look much larger than the one in the back. Now, here's where a lot of you guys, this is the moment that a lot of people will mess this up. They will go, I don't like how big that is, and then they will do this. They will mark here, they'll mark here, and then they will mark here, and they will think, oh, that looks so much better to me. Problem is, you cannot divide this square unless you divide all the squares. So I did this one, but I also need to do all the other ones. The one here, and this one, and you have to do the one in the back. If you divide any of them, you have to divide all of them, is what it is. You can't break down this square unless you break down all the squares. Okay? And that is the mistake that most students make when they're trying to draw a checkerboard, is that they think something's wrong, and so they do something that makes no sense at all, and in the end, it looks better to their eye, but I will look at it and immediately know that it's wrong. Because if that front box is that small, the box behind it should be smaller too. I can spot it, and I'll show you how I can spot it. Because okay, now I'm going to erase that. That's as far as I'm going to do this. Every time I go this way, it should get smaller, 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 smaller. And that's not going to happen unless you follow those directions accurately. Okay? Okay, so now, these are kind of fun. Once you build this thing, it's kind of fun to play with, in the sense that I can remove this block. I can draw a vertical line here, and a vertical line here, and I can delete that block, but you think, hey, that doesn't look right, so I'm going to fix that. From this point I'm going to draw over in this direction. And then I'm going to draw a vertical line here. And then from this point, I'm going to connect over here to this vanishing line here. And I'm going to draw down that way. You still recording? Mm-hmm. So I can remove blocks as I want to from here by doing that. Let's remove this block in here in the middle. In order to do that, I would start by drawing a line down, like that. Well, actually, to do that one accurately, I would need to draw this first. Because I need to know where this is to know where that line is. And then this was a vertical line, and then this line over here would allow me to make that block disappear. And there you go. Now I've removed this, now I've taken this block out. Right now, that is how to draw a perspective checkerboard. I'm going to draw one quick little shape on top of here to kind of give you an idea of what you might do if you had drawn this thing. So let's imagine that you wanted to draw a building on this now. I can draw this. I'll draw a nice tall building. Actually, let's go. Let's see. So this is that's the vanishing line to there. And let's see. We're going to draw a vanishing line to here. And wait a second, I'm getting screwed up here. This side of the building, oh yeah, I'm drawing this wrong. Okay, so we have, okay, so this is going to be the front center of the thing. This would be what the first line of the block was going to be here. There we go. So then this goes over here. There we go. That's the left-hand side of the building, and then the right-hand side of the building will be here. And then this side is here. And then I can erase all this stuff on the inside of here. And now I've got a building or a block sitting on top of that shape. Okay, so for your fantasy drawing or fantasy city that you're going to draw, or fantasy drawing, you need to draw some sort of city most likely, or some sort of buildings, because that kind of fits with the whole perspective thing. You could choose to put the whole thing on top for checkerboard if you wanted to. Okay, let's draw a window. Most of you are going to want to put windows on your drawings. So we'll start once again with a horizon line. And two vanishing points. And we'll draw something that'll have a window on it. Okay. Start by putting a window on this side here. I'm going to start out by drawing a vertical line. Two vanishing lines. And another vertical line. Now there is a systematic way that I could have determined where exactly to put this to make it centered on here, but I did not, so I was not as accurate as I could have been. but it would have been a pretty complicated process for you guys. But certainly I would want to make sure that this here is wider than this, because I know that if this is centered on this area, then this would be wider than this. Next, I'm going to draw a short little vertical or a vanishing line going this direction, which establishes the thickness of the windowsill. I'm going to draw a line, a vertical line there, and then a vanishing line going from this spot towards that vanishing line over there, vanishing point. Okay, so let's say we have the window here, and let's say we wanted to divide it into smaller windows, or you wanted to put like a screen on it or something like that. Some of you would be tempted to just kind of draw a line here and draw a line here and call it done. But the reality is, if you want to locate the center of any square, you can draw lines like that to locate the center of the square. So that's what we're going to need to do first, is we're going to need to connect corner to corner, corner to corner, to locate that spot right there, which is the center of that window. Once we know where the center of the window is, we're able to draw a vertical line and vanishing lines. Oops, this should be all the way down to here. And then a vanishing line going this direction. And thus I've put like 4 window panes where you can see the windowsill behind. This is where you put your little plants on your windowsill at home. Okay. And then if you wanted to turn this instead of 4 windows into 16 windows, you would still need to locate the center of that square and the center of this square, and then draw vanishing lines and vertical lines to accurately divide that up. And this goes away. That goes away. Anyways, you get the idea. So this is 16 window panes with a windowsill visible through. Okay, so now we're going to draw a circle in perspective. A circle starts with a square. And then to draw that circle, you would locate the middle. You would then locate the top, the bottom, the right-hand side, the left-hand side, and then you would have to freehand a circle. Now, if you've done the SketchUp work, if you've been able to do the SketchUp work, then you'll remember something about tangent arcs. I think. I'm trying to remember whether or not you drew a tangent arc when you were drawing the curve on the bookshelf. And a tangent arc meant that the arc touched this spot, came over here, and then touched that spot and made for a perfect quarter of a circle. Okay? So this is the process we're going to be going through. We're going to start by drawing a square or something similar to a square. We're then going to locate the top and the bottom, the right and the left, and then we're going to draw that as best we can. So let's start out by drawing a single surface. That is remotely square. Without context, without doing other work, I'm not sure how I would know that this was exactly a square as opposed to an oval. But there's the surface that I'm going to draw into a square. So once again, the first thing I did is I drew the X. So I'm going to connect the corners but I'm only gonna do a mark because I'm gonna erase it later. And another mark. And that tells me where the center of the square is, followed by a nice vertical thing so I can locate the top and the bottom of said square. And then this vanishing line over here is going to tell me where the left and the right point of that square is. And this is where you need to be able to go very lightly. You want to learn to sketch. See how I'm doing dash, 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 dash. I'm not going, what I'm doing instead is I'm very lightly, and I'm also using my hand to pivot, very lightly kind of sketching a line, and I want that line to touch here, a nice even curve that touches here, and you got to kind of draw this 4 quadrants or 1 quadrant at a time. It touches there, and then the same thing here. It's going to touch there, it's going to come down and kind of touch here. A nice kind of even thing, and then from here it's going to come up here and touch there, and then it's going to come same thing over here. So you're looking for a curve that brushes up against these 4 spots. To draw a circle. So let's create a bridge. A bridge, let's draw like a long kind of tall shape here. Here's the left-hand side. And let's give it a little bit of width. Again, this is where people often make their mistakes because they don't draw very vertically. I'm going to turn this into 2 blocks that are lined up with each other. This. And I'm actually going to imagine that this is one building here. What I'm going to try to do, what I want to do here is I want to put a curve here, basically, is what I'm trying to do. But I'm trying to do that accurately and correctly and not just kind of like I just did. So basically this is like one building and another building, and this is a tunnel basically going between them. I'm going to try to show you, I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to need, there needs to be some sort of thickness up here. And that thickness is going to be, I'm going to make it semi-random. I'm going to give it some sort of thickness so that later on, where the center of this arc is, there's some thickness to it, because I'm going to imagine a train driving across this thing, and there needs to be some sort of thickness there. So now I'm going to locate the center of this. Now this is, what I'm showing you is not just something you could do for creating a bridge. It's also just anytime you wanted to draw something like a circle or an oval. As I've already shown you how to draw a circle, so I'm using the same technique to now draw an oval, or an oval shape. What you're going to do is you're going to connect, you're going to find, as you did last time, you're going to find this spot and this spot. You're also going to locate the spot in the top. So this is the top of the arc, that's the left-hand side of the arc and the right-hand side of the arc. And at this point, I'm going to have you move over to this side, because I'm right-handed, it's going to be a little hard for me to draw. And here's where you need to get a little bit freehand of the whole thing, and you need to figure that this circular shape needs to leave here, touch that spot, and then come down here. For those of you who've done the SketchUp thing, we're talking about a tangent circle, tangent arc, meaning that this arc goes from here and gracefully kind of comes off here, it comes up, it touches there, and comes down to there. So you need to locate these three spots, because these are the three spots that, like on a circle, are here, 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 oops, here and here, and that circle touches that, touches that, touches that, touches that, touches that. We're talking about this spot, and this spot when we're dealing with the arc of the bridge. And you're going to see we're going to erase that and erase that. But then we also need to have a pathway going that direction. So the last thing we're going to do on this bridge is we're going to draw this shape here. And trying to figure out, we might actually have the back of that bridge, it occurs to me. That's going to be, if you could see the back of that bridge, it would be, no, you're never going to see it. It would be, all the way back here, so you wouldn't actually see that. I was worried that maybe you would see that back corner of the bridge. So let's see, let's erase that, and this again, and this, and that. And then we have a fairly accurately drawn bridge. Now that we've drawn a circle, might as well use that to draw a column. So a column would typically be, oops, you would think of it as a kind of a tall, skinny, if you were to take a column and put it in a box, what would that box look like? It would be a tall, skinny box. So this is the box that my column was delivered to me from Amazon. Okay, so there's the box that Amazon delivered my column in. Now, I'm going to draw the bottom of that column, even if it's not there. I mean, even you wouldn't be able to see it. It's now a glass column. Or glass cylinder, or not a cylinder, a prism. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing I did last time in the last video, where I'm going to locate the center of these. And with the center, I'm going to mark that and that, this and this. I'm going to do the same thing in the bottom. Okay, now I need to draw this circle up top here. It's got to barely brush up against that side. It's going to come across there and touch that spot. It's going to come around here, touch that spot, go across and touch that spot. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing in the bottom. But I know that this is going to be a straight line to here, so I'm going to start here. It's going to touch here and here. You still see, Jasper?
Yeah.
Okay. There and there. And there. And then I'm going to need the vertical lines here. And a vertical line here. And there is a glass cylinder. If I wanted to erase everything that I would not see if this was a solid cylinder, it would look like this. Now you may think that you can just kind of fake this, but I've got a pretty good eye for this stuff. And I can tell, if you just try to draw something that kind of looks like this without doing all the directions, there's a really pretty good chance that I'm going to notice it. Because you're going to draw it the way you just think it's supposed to be drawn. And I'll be able to tell there's something wrong with that. I'm not sure, but I'll be able to tell that there's something wrong. And that shape is not quite correct. Imagine for a moment you wanted is Snoopy's Doghouse. We're all familiar with hopefully we're all familiar with the general visual of Snoopy's Doghouse. It's a very kind of rectangular box, but it has a pitched roof. So we're gonna start by drawing, actually we're gonna draw Snoopy's Doghouse, because there's also another part of that. So Snoopy's Doghouse is gonna start out with a rectangular side of the box of his house. We're not going to draw Snoopy on top. However, if you, as an art student, or even as a TEA student, wanted to draw Snoopy on the top, you are welcome to do so. That'd be cool. You can get as creative as you want with this thing. So I'm going to start by drawing the doghouse portion, or the rectangular box of Snoopy's house first. And once again, because of something that I know that I'm going to want to do later on, I'm also going to draw the back of this house. Even though you wouldn't be able to see it through the house, I'm going to draw the back of it as well. I happen to know that I'm not going to need that side. I'll draw it anyways. This side right here should line up as well. And now I've drawn it as a glass rectangular prism. Okay, so if you were to imagine that I put a pitch on this roof, and this is the front of the roof, and this is where his door to his house is going to be. The center of that pitch, or the roof line, this spot where my fingers are coming together, is going to be directly above the center of this block. So I'm going to start out by locating where that center is. Which is right there. I'm going to go vertically straight up, and I'm going to pick a spot. This is the spot that is directly above the center of this square. Okay? From that spot, I'm going to draw a line across that corner. And I'm going to draw another line across that corner. So this top center spot on the house is directly above the center of this square. Hopefully that should make center for you. Truth. Now, as this thing goes back, it is also going to cross a line that is directly above the back center of that. So I'm going to locate the back center as well. here, and here. And I'm going to draw a line, a vertical line up here. This is a line directly above the back center. I'm now going to connect this top pitch to this vanishing line over here and draw that. And that shows me exactly where the top center of that back is, which tells me exactly where to connect that line right there. Now, how far does this line come out? That is determined with this right here. And now I can erase that. There's also a little bit right there that you can't see, or that's going to be hard to spot. And that is going to be right there. And I'm going to erase a bunch of this stuff. There's a pitched house. We're also going to, actually I'm going to put that line back because I'm going to use it for a second here. I'm going to want to center the doorway. Actually, I didn't have to do all that. I could have gone straight down from the peak because I already knew where that was. And so this is going to be the center of the doorway. And if I wanted to, it would be very complicated and take too long to try to figure out exactly how to put that in the center and to figure out. I could divide this into 8. I could do all the work to keep dividing it until I get it down into the 4 by 4 by 4, which would then allow me to remove I could basically take it, I could divide it, I could keep dividing it, and then I could choose these 6 things right here to do my doorway if I wanted to. The same way we did the checkerboard before, you could divide this thing into 8 to figure out how to find that central area. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to make this a little wider than this back here, because I know this is further away and this is closer, to create a roof line for this, for the arched doorway that I'm going to create for this. Okay, so now this is the center of the arc of the doorway, and actually scratch that. I've now drawn a square, and once I've drawn this square, which I tried to center as best I could on this surface, now that I've done that, I'm going to locate the center of this. That's going to determine the top of this arc, which is right there, and it also determines the left hand and the right hand spot that I'm going to use to draw this arc. Which touches here, touches there, and comes down and touches there, kind of giving me an idea of what that shape would look like. And then I'm going to need to draw that line right there, which would be inside the doghouse. And there's Snoopy's doghouse. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to draw here are stairs. And it occurs to me, I just redrew some stairs a second ago because it had been a long time since I'd drawn stairs. And I don't think I've ever actually drawn them the way that I'm going to draw them today, because I've never been this accurate before. I'm going to draw them in an accurate fashion. And I recognize the significant challenge of this. It's definitely a very difficult thing to do, so it's not required that you draw stairs. But if you're up for the challenge, potentially you're enjoying this, potentially you like the nature of the accuracy of all this, you like to learn from the process, and you're looking for a bit of a challenge, then definitely draw some stairs. But it's not going to be a required thing in order to get regular credit. There's going to be credit for this, and then there's going to be extra credit for this. I'm going to create a surface for the stairs to kind of be going off of. So I'm just going to start by drawing a block here. So there's just a block out in space. And I'm going to imagine stairs coming down off of this, going down in this direction here. Now, in the past, I've just drawn down, over, down, over, down, over, down, over randomly. This time around, I'm actually going to determine from the beginning how far those stairs are going to go. And I'm going to draw a large square in this plane, and this plane is going to be, as I'm drawing these stairs, the left-hand side of those stairs is going to be on this plane. And I'm going to make them all perfectly even so that the stair starts here. Actually, it's going to start one step down from here, and it's going to go all the way down to here. So let's just say that for the purposes of this thing, I was drawing a stair from, let's see. From this platform down to this surface right here. There's a surface here, there's a surface here. Let's say I was drawing it from there to there. Okay, I'm drawing stairs from here to here, is what I'm doing. In order to do that, I'm going to revert back to my checkerboard because I want to divide this up into squares is what I'm going to do. So step one is to locate the center of this. Which is right here. Then draw a vertical line carefully. And a vanishing line. And thus I've divided this up into 4. And you can see that I could do one, like a big step down, another step down to get to here at this point. That's basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep dividing this up by going from corner to corner. Let's see, I'm going to start by drawing this line here, just like I did on the checkerboard, and then I'm going to locate the center of this square now, which is right here, enter the center of this square, which is right there, and then I'm going to draw this vertical line here. And remember, you can't divide this one up unless you divide this one up as well. You just have to do these things systematically. You can't pick and choose which squares. I went from a 2x2 grid to a 4x4 grid. Now it's 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm going to do one more. Almost all of what I'm doing right now is going to be erased later, which is why the art students have that soft pencil or hard pencil. The hard lead pencil is the one that's going to draw very lightly so that you can definitely erase it easily later. So if you're an art student and you have a hard lead pencil, or if you're not an art student and you have a hard lead pencil, this is definitely where you're going to be wanting to use that hard lead pencil because it's the one that's going to be easily erasable later on. All right, so now we're 8, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now I can locate, if you imagine the stairs, they come down, over, down, over, down, over, down, over. I can locate all of these spots. And they are where? They are right here. And then it goes down, over. They're right here on this line. Okay. And then that would be right there. That's where it's going to be. That is these spots right here. Okay. So I can actually, at this point, erase all of this. The entire purpose of drawing that whole checkerboard shape was for locating those spots right there. But I also would like to know where these spots are right here. And they are right here, right there, there, and so forth. Now all of these lines vanish this direction. So I'm going to put this here. Every one of those lines, the top and the bottom of the stair, they're all going to vanish this direction. I was inaccurate there. This doesn't quite look right. Something's wrong. I'm not sure where. Clearly this line is off. I was not careful enough. The process I did was correct, I believe, but something's wrong along the way. Oh, this is not heading in the right direction, for one thing. Better, but still something is off. It's not as accurate as I should have been. Okay. Now, this is the tricky part. Okay, so from here, this spot here where it comes down. Oh, I'm missing a line there too. Across the top here. There's one there. From this spot, it's going to go from this vanishing point over this way, and I'm going to connect the first two lines. Over here, connected those two lines. Now, I'm going to draw a vertical line, connecting the next two lines. Okay, and now I've created that top step. And then another vanishing line, followed by a vertical line, create the next step. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to the next section while I finish up this. Okay, so that is an accurate way to draw stairs. I think that this is clearly too skinny here. I clearly made some sort of mistake along the way, but this should be slightly larger than that, slightly larger than that, and so forth. They should get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller as they're working their way back. This should be slightly smaller than, it should get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as it comes forward. But that is the accurate way to draw stairs. And that's the end of the stairs video. Okay, so big picture now. You are required, let's see, today is what? Thursday. I'm gonna give you a full week. I'm gonna give you until next Friday to do a drawing of your own creation. It's going to be worth 20 points. And if you do a very basic drawing, you should have at least a few buildings. It should definitely have some things other than just basically rectangles. They should look like buildings. You can add windows, you can add sidewalks, you can add a checkerboard if you want to, you can add stairs and columns, and you can get creative. You know what you can also do? You can go onto YouTube and watch perspective videos and learn other techniques. That's a great way to impress me, is to find other ways of drawing different things that you might want to draw. You need to come up with your own personal interest drawing using perspective. And for 20 points, I'm just really basically looking for a pretty straightforward drawing, and mostly I'm going to be grading on a few things. One, I'm going to be grading on, and the most important thing I'm going to be grading on is the accuracy of your drawing, meaning every line on this paper needs to be intentional, needs to be specific. It's vertical, it's horizontal. There's no horizontal. It's vertical, it's vanishing, it is drawn very specifically because you're trying to draw that circle exactly the way it is. Every line is very specific and accurate, and your paper is clean. You've erased all the stuff that you didn't want to erase. You left yourself that opportunity because you didn't draw really dark while you were drawing. If you're an art student, hopefully you're using the hard lead to help with that. If you're not an art student, then you can use whatever you need. You can use whatever paper you can find, but hopefully you're going to find some sort of a clear or a blank paper. If you have to draw on lined paper, then I guess that's what you got, but I'd rather you tore open a brown paper bag and use the inside of a brown paper bag than to use lined paper. But try to find some sort of white paper if you can for this drawing. Now I'm going to give you up to 40 points for your work, because but to get 40 points you're going to have to just do something really pretty crazy and impressive, and this is really not because I want you to feel like you have to do all that crazy stuff. It's just so that you can get some sort of value into your grade if you'd like, if that matters to you, by putting some extra effort and time and energy into this work. If you're finding that this work interests you and you kind of enjoy working in this manner, then engineering might be a great path for you, because engineers have to be very technical and very exact, and the things that they have to do, it's like puzzle making, it's like problem solving, it's about working in a very technical manner. If it frustrates you that you can't just draw the way you want to draw, then engineering, most fields in engineering might be a little difficult for you, because you do need to be very precise when you work in fields like this. You have until next Friday. I'll tell you what also I want you to do. I want you to feel free to, and I recommend you include not just your finished photo, but include your in-process photos of what you did. So if you just drew that giant staircase, feel free to draw the photos of you in process of making those checkerboard tables and so forth. Show me the work that you did to get your drawing to look good as you're going. As you're working on your project, take photos of it. And then choose 5 or 6 photos you think will show me your work in progress, so I can kind of see how you figured everything out and how you did things and what your work looked like along the way. That way, after you erase a ton of your work, I can still kind of see your work, and I can appreciate that. And I can appreciate all that has gone into the finished product that you're turning in at the end of this whole thing. Today is
Thursday.
Is it the 14th? I think today's the 14th. I could be wrong. 12:30. Today's the 14th and of May, and therefore we're looking at the 21st, the 22nd of May is the due date for this assignment. All right. Hope you guys are all doing all right. All right. Bye bye.